Yes, Al Green, Black Student Advocate here on video with Glenn Hunter. Glenn, let's talk about what do you do, what's your background, and everything before we get started.
Just open up. I'm Glenn W. Hunter, Glenn W. No. Hunter. And really, what I do more than anything is I advocate entrepreneurship. I do it through a consulting arm, Hunter and Beyond LLC, where I work with businesses, helping them to grow through better branding and storytelling. But at the core of all of that is really educating entrepreneurs, other professionals, how to live a more fulfilling and professionally satisfying life. And by doing that, I try and connect them with people, try and connect them with ideas and give them tools to be more effective. Part of that comes out in educating. So it's not just me bringing wisdom, but literally trying to bring a structure of learning so that the other professionals I deal with are able to grow. And from that actually lends into me being in classrooms from time to time. Everything from SAT test prep I do with high school students to teaching master's level marketing classes at the University of Redlands. So all of that really just falls under master umbrella of helping professionals grow with better branding and storytelling.
Okay. So what's your background? Where you from? Let's start with the high school and college and everything like that.
I'm originally from Carson, California, in the South Bay area. I like to tell people, if you think of Carson, if you're not familiar with it as much, it's sort of wedged between Compton and Long Beach. So all the gangster stuff just sort of went past us. We just sort of got a remnant of it.
Okay.
But oddly, what's that?
I said, okay.
But oddly enough, I went to high school at Chadwick Prep School in Palos Verdes Peninsula, a pretty exclusive enclave of Southern California. And I was privileged to do that, get a fantastic education, literally opened my eyes to another way of looking at the world, let alone Southern California, really impacted my global view. It helped me understand that education isn't just a tool or a set of accomplishments. It's literally a lens to look at the world, almost a magnifying glass, to look at the world in a much bigger and clearer perspective. From there, I went to the University of California, Berkeley. And after that, I went to business school at UCLA Anderson. So for all you Californians listening who are paying taxes in the 80s and 90s, I thank you.
Okay, so you had a chance to go to some great schools, and through the process, what kind of individuals were you meeting and networking with through the whole process?
You know, it's kind of interesting because when you start looking at the individuals, they're your classmates, they're your teammates, they're the people you're getting into mischief with. And then all of a sudden you fast forward and these are people of great accomplishment. I was explaining to one of my SAT classes about just the level of competition that they're not exposed to as they're going through, and I'm improving their ability to get into college, versus my experience where there was a higher level of excellence that was just understood. It wasn't that we attained for it, that was just where we stood. And I explained how there was one student who actually, I was ranked higher in GPA, and she was ranked higher in her test scores. And as life would have it, I ended up going to, I went to Berkeley, she went to Santa Barbara, that's where she wanted to go. And I was always envious of her because she had better test scores, just barely, but just enough to make me uncomfortable. And over time, we laughed because she was always like, I could never just get over you in GPA. So even though we were friendly, we took the same advanced placement courses, all of that stuff. You just have this sense of competition at a higher level that's very natural. So while hopefully I'm not coming across as too boastful, it gives you a sense of humility that, you know, what really matters is how you proceed with the tools you have. So, you know, and I look at my classmates, you have bankers, you have attorneys. There's an Emmy Award-winning screenwriter who is a classmate of mine who I still keep up with. One of my closest friends is a retired naval officer. So you get a chance to deal with quality individuals. And this was literally just at my high school. It gets even worse when you think about my college experience. Just people that you spent time with who are doing incredible things professionally, and also in their community.
Okay. So after Berkeley, UCLA, then what did you do? How did you launch out after, or while you were working and getting your MBA, or once you got out of B school?
After graduating from UCLA, oddly enough, I left Southern California. Went into the casino business, oddly enough. It was a booming business. The riverboat bonanza, the Native American facilities were just getting started. And I was working for Harrah's, their corporate arm at the time, and they had a strategy that this new channel of casinos was going to be the future. 25 years later, it's absolutely true. Before then, you're either in Nevada or New Jersey, and that was it. And what they were doing was not just creating capital and finding opportunities, they were recruiting talent to bring through their ranks to actually manage these multi-million-dollar businesses. And I was part of that. So I literally stayed with them for 6 years. I have to confess, a lot of fun, interesting business. Actually worked at a property that I helped develop, sort of a real estate transaction. And found out, though, over time it became very hard on the family. It's a tough family business for a lot of reasons, late hours, other things. And at the urging of my wife and my 4 young children at the time batting their eyelashes at me, I went into the wireless technology business, worked for Brent PCS when their wireless business was separated from the rest of their business, and that was emerging. So I had a chance to be at 2 entrepreneurial, major companies with entrepreneurial interests, and was able to be part of their growth in different ways. And one that was very rewarding from a career standpoint. Great stories is you're literally looking at an industry and you're building it while you're moving. I mean, you're literally paving the road while you're driving it. And you learn and you see mistakes and you learn how to recover from mistakes. You learn to be resilient. Tomorrow's another day. You get all of those experiences, and you also understand that when it's done right, it can be very lucrative.
So coming out both of them industries, then, I know you helped start a charter school, and we're going to, give us that, and we can go in and out of that story. Talk about the charter school.
Charter school, after I left the technology business, and I was living in Kansas City at the time, started consulting, started teaching, started finding creative ways to use my skills and apply them directly to the marketplace. I wrote business plans, again, marketing plans, helping different businesses create new avenues of growth. From there, I ended up with a contract to work with the Kansas City, Missouri School District, basically networking. A business contact of mine was working in the HR, was running the HR department there, basically needed smart people to resolve tough issues of an urban school district.
Let me stop you right there. Let me say that there's nothing wrong with giving yourself some stroke. You said smart people. You're like, that's me. So let me just commend you that you continue to use things to put yourself in a good light. And most people don't. And that's why I wanted to stop and acknowledge that for what you do. Since we've been talking, even off camera, we laugh and joke all the time. But yeah, keep doing that. Because someone's going to be encouraged by that. Because, the phrase is, if you can do it, and that's who you are, you're not bragging, you just give your resume.
Exactly. Oh, man. And thank you, Jared. That's one more of your lines I'm going to take it home. So thank you. But to that point, once I learned about the inefficiencies of education, as well as the success stories, kids are getting educated and they're being educated well across the country daily. And I commend the professionals that are on the front lines doing it. Administratively, sometimes there are some challenges, and somehow or other they still make it happen. But you get to see the good and the bad from that perch. So when I relocated to Nashville a few years later, a unique opportunity came up where a gentleman, his name's Art Fuller, had a vision for a multicultural school that was steeped in a college prep environment. And the idea was to give them not just the tools, but a culture that would grow them into the next wave of leaders. And it's very easy to say, it's very hard to do. And worlds collided. Art was a guy with a very clear vision, had a background in out-of-the-box education and putting together programs in smaller environments. And now he wanted to start a school. And he went about finding, again, the brightest people that he and again, I wasn't a first round draft pick on this board, but he was able to speak to the hearts and minds of some very accomplished professionals. He told a great story and cast a great vision and was able to get us on board. And the beauty of it is you have guys literally who are partners in major law firms in Nashville and managing partners of major accounting firms, other educators from some of the fine universities that we have in Nashville, even though I'm not there anymore. And they were able to come on board. Local politicians got involved, not just for photo ops, but literally on board seats to help us navigate this particular vision of bringing a diverse student body into a rough and tumble part of town and then giving them an oasis of education. And we've been operating, we have an 11th grade class now. So next year will be our first group of seniors. And as a result of that, it's a college prep program. We've won numerous awards. We're almost bashfully well-funded. But the whole idea of bringing professionals in, getting good wisdom, and then making definitive judgment really says a lot about our Knowledge Academies, knowledgeacademies.org if you want to see what they're doing. But having a clear vision and executing will carry the day, whether you're in education, whether you're in business, whether you're running a popsicle stand or trying to manage the family checkbook. Nothing can be said about having a well-thought-out plan. Enough can't not be said about having a well-thought-out plan and then executing it with confidence and diligence. So that's how we started it. Again, incredibly well funded. We literally just bought our building and adjacent property early this year. And all the bad things you hear about charter schools, we've had to dispel them, and we've been very fortunate. A little over 700 students now, largely Hispanic, African-American, and Arabic, Middle Eastern. So all our collateral goes out in Arabic, Spanish, and English. We embrace diversity and get these young people thinking as Knowledge Academies Tigers as they're preparing to be the next set of leaders in Middle Tennessee.
So let me ask a question. So 700 kids, what about the arts and athletics? Do you also offer that arm, or is it all academic?
No, we do have arts. We do have athletics. Our athletics is probably trailing definitely our academics and arts, and that's intentional. That's part of our strategy. It's not that we're anti-athletic. We want it to be good at the things we're good at. Right. And we felt that the story of a diverse community using education as a lever to improve not just their community, but their livelihoods individually for those who go away to school and stay. That became our priority. So we worked very hard on those items. But from an arts perspective, we have actually had some very impressive performances, either through theater, through dance, through the physical arts, visual arts. And as a result of that, we've been lucky enough to get funding. We have a nice computer center where they're able to actually create graphic arts through technology. And fortunately, our young people, our middle schoolers, our high schoolers, they eat that up. I mean, you literally have trouble prying them out. And not only that, we've been able to demonstrate that in front of business luminaries as well as political luminaries in town to see the, quote, least of these really excel when they're in a fertile environment that not just advocates their growth, but literally encourages, fertilizes, and nurtures their growth. So we're very proud of what we're doing from an art standpoint, particularly the technological arts. Me and another board member or two, another trustee or two, we're secretly hoping that we'll get a couple of tall kids who can play basketball in there also at some point.
So let's talk about your college prep course that you offer.
Yes. Coach G SAT training is the college prep class, the training program that I offer. And it started from a passion and maybe even a road to Damascus moment, in the sense that when I was going through my prep school, as a prep school, we were being prepared to go to college. You were paying a lot of money to go to college. And these kids were coming from high achieving families, high achieving backgrounds, and that was the expectation. One of the things that we get to brag about, Chadwick, any given year will literally send more kids to Stanford University than some states will. And that's
very impressive.
Of individual that we're producing even today. And as I was going through that, I realized I was eerily well prepared for that exam, which was critical for my college success. I chose Cal because that was my dream school. I applied to other schools that were equally exclusive that I got in, even though my GPA may have been on the lower end of their spectrum. My test scores were were in the median or even higher end of the spectrum, and the other extracurriculars and my ability to express myself in essays, all of that came together for me getting into very exclusive schools and actually being recruited from schools that you normally don't even think about old busted up jocks trying to wander into. But the point being, the lesson I learned is that it wasn't anything special that I did. It was the soil that I had a chance to germinate in. And there wasn't anything terribly magic about it, except I was convinced to believe, and the people who delivered that training, that insight, were absolutely right. So I've used that with other kids, with kids of friends, trying to encourage them, trying to help them get on the proper way in their college aspirations. And then when I returned to Southern California, I was convicted that I wanted to bring that to the communities here where I would live, particularly for communities of color. But I want to bring that enlightenment to it. So the whole idea of Coach G is I bring an athletic metaphor to it. I bring an athletic lens. It's not strictly for athletes, but I like working with them. They're interesting, they're colorful, they tend to be more charismatic, and they understand inherently how to compete. Academics is a competitive endeavor. And if you don't believe it, look at the kids who are going to major universities and the strides their parents go through to make sure they're prepared to compete through the application process and the execution once they get there. And I bring that to the kids that I work with to help them, one, understand the competitiveness, two, to understand that the test really doesn't measure academic performance. That's a myth. It measures intelligence or academic performance or success in college. And the studies have clearly demonstrated none of those rules apply. It's a convenient understanding, but it's wrong. The test is a self-fulfilling entity. It proves your ability to do well on the test. And that's intentionally circular. The test proves your ability to do well on the test. It just happens to be the measurement that they use to admit you. So once you get through that, then all you have to do is apply the mechanisms of their testing to the way you respond to their tests, and a few other things that I share proprietarily. And they're able to excel. I mean, I literally, the last group I had going through practice tests, they took their test a week and a half ago, so they don't have their results yet. But from his baseline test to the final test that I gave them, and I use a generic practice book, his test scores improved 400 points from the base one to the final one we did 7 weeks afterwards.
Okay, so I've got some more questions, but since we're on this subject, go ahead and give your phone number and website if you have one so they can reach out to you.
You can find me at glennwhunter.com, www.glennwhunter.com. Once you get to glennwhunter.com, one of the pages is Coach G SAT training. So to get directly to that, glennwhunter.com/Coach G SAT training.
Okay.
And that will get you directly to the page, describes the program. You can text me directly or email me directly. I can give you feedback, prices, protocol, all that's included. Phone number 816-305-5141. Again, 816-305-5141. For all you diehard Californians who don't recognize 816, that's a Kansas City number. I've literally had it for over 20 years. And I have people literally around the world who contact me through that number, so I'm not quite ready to give it up yet.
Also, the reason I want you to stay there for a minute is something that we're going to be offering on our website is your course, so we're going to do the collaboration so then we can help kids across the country with their improving their SAT scores and to also to have a better chance to getting more money, getting into more colleges. So let's talk about the transition from classroom to you have to do some virtual things over in your last course. Let's talk about that. Go ahead and give the stroke.
Okay, y'all, it's coming. It's coming. But no, I think it's important to understand how education is being done. I mean, the value is at the cutting edge. Entrepreneurs are entrepreneurs, and they're exciting, and they create value, they get paid. All of those things come because they are out on the edge of creating value. They're taking the risk, and they're getting the rewards. The way kids want to, I won't say want to, they're inclined to understand now isn't necessarily the way my generation was. I don't need to sit at a desk and look at someone in front of me as they give me knowledge that I write down and give back to them. They want to be engaged. They want to use technology. They want to feel they have something their parents did not have in terms of how they're experiencing life. Much as, I can't say this for Jerry because he was an ideal child, but I want to think that my parents did not have just to prove that they were mine. But when you deal with them technologically, when you're able to interact with them and give them guidance, whether it's through social media by capturing them studying or showing that, or through Zoom, where they don't have to be in the same room, they're just as comfortable looking into a screen or having a headset on and interacting with you like they do when they're playing Call of Duty or NBA 2K18. Those are their comrades that they're communicating with literally around the globe. So to get a hold of me in a virtual environment 15, 20 miles away is second nature. So it's up to me to be able to deliver the information in a way they receive it. Otherwise, I'm just I'm an old guy who talks and that they're not listening to. So communication works best when the transceiver and the receiver are both in alignment. I emphasize that so that they're receiving information in an environment as well as in a language, as well as in a way of receiving it that they're comfortable. Therefore, I have to be comfortable in giving it to them that way. So yeah, we do it. If there's a question or we need to visually do something, we literally will put it in front of the camera so they can see it. If they need to get a clearer view, I email it to them and they can pull it up while we're talking via Zoom. All of those are tools that they're comfortable with as they go forward. More importantly, when they get to college, they'll have opportunities to take blended classes. You spend time in front of a professor, you'll spend time in front of a screen, you'll spend time in front of pre-recorded material that you'll be held accountable for both in your exams and professionally. That's where learning is, and I feel that my value add comes in giving those students the advantage of practicing in that environment so they're able to perform in those environments with excellence as they proceed with their better education.
Okay. So what kind of community organizations have you been involved in since college, during college, and after college?
I have to lead with being a proud member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. I'm also very proud of the fact I am a founder of the UC Berkeley chapter, which has gone on to produce some incredible luminaries in the legal field, public servants, medical field, and all of this is literally just from my campus. But that's something I'm very proud of. Since then, now spending time with the American Marketing Association of the Inland Empire, bringing my marketing expertise as they try and communicate not just their information, but the way for business people to improve their marketing and also improve their sales efforts, sharing tools. So, I mean, those are groups that I'm currently working with. Oh, goodness. Between that, my other board work, I'm the chair of the board of Touchstone Youth Resource Services, which focuses on social emotional learning. A lot falls into that. Emotional EQ, emotional quotient, is a big draw to it. How do people process? How do you get along with others? Anti-bullying campaigns fall under social emotional learning, which unfortunately is getting a lot of notoriety these days. We're not, and excuse me for getting political on our time together, Jerry, but what's going on in our nation's high schools, actually the remedies for that falls under social emotional learning. I mean, we have the magic formula to fix some of those ills and events. We don't. We do provide tools to help our young people help process it, help diffuse it. But when tragedy strikes, unfortunately, we have to be aware, we have to be sensitive, we have to be safety oriented as well. But those are some of the things that I'm very passionate about and that I give my time, my talents, my attention to specifically.
Okay. So right now, what's the 1 year, 3 year, 5 year goal for your organization besides our collaboration?
I think our collaboration is a very important part of my growth plan because the collaboration allows, again, technology to extend learning beyond just the immediate confines of our environment. Now we're able to get virtual images across town, across the county, throughout the state, throughout the country. And now it becomes a broader brand so that we're able to transcend even more lives of people who may not have access to the resources in their own community. What we intend to put out into our young people is in fact a unique type of empowerment. And the expectation is it's going to be presented in a way that they're willing to receive it. And I think that's the key for transcendence and for transformation. Beyond that, I want to do the same thing with entrepreneurs as I continue to train them, I continue to coach them, I continue to give them the tools and use my network as a platform in order to connect them with not just clients, financial resources, and other mentors. I don't pretend to have all the answers, but I have a really good idea where they are. The other thing that I'm looking forward to also in alignment with our collaboration, Jerry, is just the media component of improving business, improving entrepreneurship, making it a viable alternative to our young people. The saying that everyone is not college material rings true. A lot of people are who don't believe they are, and I work hard to illuminate them. Oh, I can never get into college. That's for special people. I've had the privilege of working in some of the finest universities or attending some of the finest universities and working at some fine universities across the country, both here in the Inland Empire with Redlands and some in other parts. There are some really smart people making really bad decisions on college campuses. So don't sell yourself short on that one. But the idea is to use the media platform and the relationships and the networking and the connectivity throughout other organizations to bring awareness to the hype that folks that do interact with us are going to be able to achieve just because they're in more fertile soil and being germinated properly.
So right now, for someone who's looking at the video, is there anything that you want to make sure that you mention or any question I didn't get a chance to prod or ask you?
I think the one thing I want to make sure I reiterate is the fact that, learning is not a standalone event. You don't go show up somewhere at 8 o'clock and then leave at 2:30 and say you learned something. It's a commitment to a change in lifestyle. And it's not like, oh my goodness, I got to be a bookworm. It doesn't hurt. The idea of looking for life experiences to tie in to your academic experiences really supersizes your ability to learn, your ability to get along with others, and the ability to grow, and the ability to contribute, and consequently the ability to reap rewards. I was at a networking meeting last week, and I just want to end with this story. It's kind of a fun story, but it illustrates an important point. And we're playing a game called Two Truths and a Lie. And what you do is you tell two things that are true, and one of them is a lie, and then the group has to figure out which one is the lie. It's a good way of getting to know people. And the lie that I told, the truths aren't interesting. The one that you get the hook is the lie. The lie that I told last week is that over spring break, two of my four children, I have four children, four grown children. The lie that I told is one of my children were out of the country for spring break. And actually no one got it. I forgot what the two truths were. They were equally spectacular. The lie was one of my children was out of the country for spring break. As it turned out, two of my children were out of the country for spring break or during spring break. One of them is in Paraguay in the Peace Corps right now, helping develop children in a remote village that literally, they speak Spanish as the official language, and they speak a language called Guarani, which is the indigenous language of Paraguay, which has no links to any other language in the world. It is a completely isolated language. So there's no, I can speak Portuguese so I can speak Spanish. None of that's going on. And then my son was in Cabo San Lucas doing the spring break thing. But the point being that they have these opportunities because of their education and their willingness to get outside of the box in the way they experience life. And then they're getting more experiences that they take back, and makes them more interesting students, makes them more interesting teachers, makes them more interesting friends, and more importantly, makes them more interesting employees or entrepreneurs or graduate school students or whatever it is their path takes them.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up. And I see, and you probably, the reason you brought that up is many times children of color don't get the opportunity, or parents have the fear of letting their kids go abroad. Can you speak to that?
Absolutely. I get approached with that question as I talk to my peers, as I network. How are you developing your young people? And it literally starts in vitro. I have four children. Two of them are in college. Two of them are out of college. They've all gone to fine universities. Two of the four have been on multiple continents. My daughter who's in the Peace Corps in Paraguay, before she left for South America, decided that her and her college girlfriends were going to take one more girls' trip, right? Not like Queen Latifah and Tiffany. At least to the best of my knowledge, it wasn't. So they were roommates at UCLA. All graduated. They're beginning to start their careers. Their trip was to meet in Los Angeles. Well, she was in LA at the time. But one of them had to come from out of town. Meet in Los Angeles, fly to Shanghai, where they're going to spend time, Shanghai, China, where they're going to spend time with one of their classmates, then go down to Seoul, South Korea, where they knew no one, and then work their way back to California. That was their girls' trip.
Right.
All of these young ladies, Asian, Hispanic, African American, if you talk to them on the phone, you wouldn't know you wouldn't know it, for better or worse. But the point being, they see the world differently than many young people do in Southern California. You run into Southern California, it's like, where would I ever leave? Everything I could possibly dream of is here, and that's true to an extent. But there are other experiences that are out there to be had for those who are brave enough to go. My middle daughter, who I haven't mentioned, actually was interested in the medical field when she was in college. She worked she did one summer after her sophomore year at a community health center network where I happened to be I was chair of the board at that point in time. So she wanted to do something in healthcare over the summer. I said, why don't you job shadow there? They'll give you run of the place. You can learn a lot. Well, I'm not doing anything else. I'll do it. Went there, had a great experience. They gave her the run of the race. You know, the CEO's calling me up. Your daughter's doing great. I'm like, no, don't worry about it. Forget she's my daughter. And she's like, wow, looking for a raise, and I'm supposed to forget your daughter's here. How does that work?
Right, right.
But she took that experience, went back to school, continued her education. The next year, she's at Oxford University in England at an international healthcare seminar where they're bringing healthcare leaders from around the world to spend a couple of weeks in Oxford, England in the summertime, but also teach these overachieving kids. She went from inner city Nashville to Oxford, England in one summer, and that's part of her education. The boundaries are in our mind. They're not on the map. Embrace the other cultures and learn from them. Bring that and tell a better story when you get to where you're going.
So let me ask the question. My question would be, is part of the qualifications for her to go to Oxford, did that help that she had done the summer prior in Nashville, or was that when she did the application, or was that part of the process? Have you ever done any other work in the hospital environment?
Part of the application was, what qualifications do you have for this honor to participate in this program? And she was able to talk about the work she did and again, this is from a Los Angeles perspective. This is a USC program that's sending people to Oxford, where there'll be some other students from other fine universities as well.
Okay.
I spent my summer in a southern town, because now Nashville's a town, in a southern town, working with underserved communities, immigrant communities, Hispanic communities, African-American communities, where they're getting what was formerly known as the free clinic. They're getting free healthcare, which is a very hot topic right now. How do we treat that? Even more so now than it was back then. And it was pretty hot 4 or 5 years ago when this happened. And now I can bring this American third world experience, which again, if you're at USC, you say Nashville's third world. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I can bring that experience and apply it in an international form and understand the disparities of healthcare, not just from a national perspective, from an international perspective. And that's what I'll contribute by being part of this learning opportunity. And it worked.
Okay, fair enough. So again, give your website, give your phone number again.
Again, glennwhunter.com is my website. My phone number is area code 816-305-5141. If you want to reach me by email, it would be Glenn@Hunter and Beyond LLC. Again, Hunter and Beyond, continuous stream of characters, LLC.com. I work hard at being very responsive. I look forward to hearing from all of you and maybe being able to bring some of my insight or inspiration to you or a group you're affiliated with. Things are happening here in the Inland Empire. I intend to be in the middle of them.
There you go. You did have an opportunity to acknowledge my advice, but you jumped over the bridge. So I wanted to go ahead and bring that back real fast before we wrap up about the online opportunity.
Again, let me point out the importance of technology in learning. What Jerry is looking at doing from a learning perspective is bringing higher aspirations, a higher level of understanding, X's and O's, the ABCs, but literally learning to our community where they are. If they're in front of their laptop interacting, or their tablet, or their gaming module that is backed up with a CPU, if that is where they're experiencing life, we're bringing education to them at that point of interaction. Kids are not going to necessarily hold their attention in a classroom for 50 minutes listening to someone who's talking at them instead of with them. And what Jerry is putting out is the ability to interact with learning, interactive learning, in a blended format where there's some live, some technologically driven, but where they're receptive to hearing it. So now they have a voice of authority talking to them in a way that they want to hear it. Or more importantly, a voice of authority talking, communicating with them. Believe it or not, Jerry is a very good listener, and he receives that and is able to repackage it so our young people realize that someone just explained it to me and I understood it. And I've seen him do it, and I'm looking forward to doing it with him. Can't overemphasize the importance of bilateral communication, of two-way communication with our young people for them to benefit from the more mature of us, Jerry, our wisdom.
And there you have it. Again, we're about ready to wrap up. Any other final words or anything else you want to convey to anyone who's watching the video?
I think the last thing I want to point out is, one, I appreciate and respect the work you're doing. I think it's important that I clearly articulate. I met Jerry networking, participating in an event where we were actually contributing to the improvement of education and the educational structure for some of our young people in the Inland Empire. And then we had as many of you, at least I hope many of you know, after the meeting, there's always the meeting after the meeting.
There you go.
That's where real knowledge comes in. You take off the gloves and the real people come across. And I realized this is a man I need to understand and get to know better. And now we're preparing to collaborate. Look for smart people to do smart things. That's how I found Jerry Green.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Again, this is Jerry O. Green, Black Student Advocate.